All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Monday, September 20th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Great to see all of our students and members alike live inside the cyber group room. A couple of massive trades just to close out going into this afternoon. I'll give them their proper shout outs in just a moment. But first, great to see all of us otherwise. Later, Ray, David, Bonnie, Jeff, got Andrea Buongiorno. He just got back to his desk right now. Michael, loud and clear. And hey, if you're joining us today on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back. Actually, a little housekeeping to begin. We have class coming up later on today. That's the Phase 1 stock course, lesson number 2. More basic concepts. We're not diving into the strategy as much just yet. We're talking first really about setting up your computer, setting up your trading system, setting up your platform entirely otherwise. So, before we really go into the volume and the icebergs and this and that, we got to know what we're trading off of. We got to have the right, tools and real actual hardware, right? Equipment. So, that's what we're going to go over coming up later on today at 3:05 Eastern Time. Now, if you're on social media, that does not pertain to you, unfortunately. But if you'd like to join us, that's a different story. But certainly feel free to join us tomorrow. And I've been making this announcement for the last couple of days here in this afternoon meeting. But a quick last reminder for all of us on YouTube today, Facebook Live. Coming up tomorrow, we have a live Q&A workshop, which will be simulcasted. It's always hosted live in the cyber group trading room. It will continue to be tomorrow. So for Frank and Jean and Bonnie and Deb and everyone else there right now, just stay put right there tomorrow at least, and we'll operate as we put out the morning, the afternoon watch lists that we put out. This is the purpose of this workshop tomorrow. So there's my email address as I've been posting over the last week, josh@ctutrading.com. I always say any questions, feel more than free to send on over via email, but even more so for our workshop tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. All right, so let's hop right into it here. A couple of massive trades, as I just said, were closed out right before we started this meeting. A couple of big shout outs to Leda. She ended up going in and out a few times. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but it looks like she cleared over $1 pretty easily on a few trades on this EDSA. I got Gene, who picked up $2.19 in one trade. He was in from $9.08. He got stopped out at $11.20. And John got $3.21 per share on the EDSA trade. He was in from $7.78. Had to have been right off the market open here, seeing this drop off, but ended up closing out at $10.99. So out right under hole number 11. Congratulations to all three of those students, and alongside anyone else that might be perhaps still in this trade. Now, let's go over this trade from head to toe. We'll do this relatively briefly, and we'll go further into it perhaps come tomorrow morning inside our workshop. But really on the EDSA trade, stock was moving up pretty nicely leading into the open, but it was up over like 50-60%. So, I would still wait to see the sell-off, the profit taking, as most stocks that are up that much will tend to do once the market does open. But this stock ended up making for a hell of a bounce and a pop back up a bit later on into the morning. You could see right around 10 o'clock, 10:15 Eastern Time, ended up doing just so, and more so here heading into like 11:15 Eastern Time, ended up beginning to break out once again over 8. It took a while to get the real accelerated run up here at this point, but ended up holding 8 pretty nicely as support. From there, made the push. So at least here, a couple of other things I want to make mention of. You could see the lines on my screen here. So aside from 8 that I just put up, 10.15, $10.15. That seemed to have been near the pre-market high this morning. I think it kind of bounced right off of like 9.90. So still 25 cents shy from $10.15. Why do I have this line here at 10.15? Well, look at the weekly chart. The daily chart you could look at also. The weekly chart I like to kind of show even further at times. It's just to say this stock was holding really well under not just 10, but in particular 10.15. Here's 10 on the nose back from June of 2020. If I can get this right here, geez. 10.15 back from September of 2020. I think you catch my drift here. 10.13, the high from October 23rd, 2020, that week at least. So I was assuming not just 10, but like right at or a couple of pennies around 10.15 to be a pretty damn strong level today. Ended up making for these wacky pops and drops from it. And I'll tell you, I thought after this point here, this shake back down, that this would have been the end of the road on this stock. For someone like John or perhaps Gene that were in from a much better price. They still had a small cushion to work off of to hope for the higher low and the break back up later on. Easy to say that's what happens here. But man, this ended up throwing me off. I didn't trade this at this point, and I thought it was just going to begin to consolidate and slump back down. Thankfully, like I'd said before, this led to a new breakout as it popped over 1015. I wrote inside the trading room just earlier at the time as it happened, let's see if this could hold over 1015 and make the run up from there. And nonetheless, that's what happened. All right, so ended up making for this beautiful move here heading into this afternoon. That doesn't mean that it's not going to completely dump back down heading into the close. I still think that there's a better chance of that happening. I hate to say it, compared to this popping back up and running back up to 11, back over 11, running up to 12, and so forth. The reason I say that, and again, I could be wrong. I'd love to be wrong here, but the reason I say that is look at the daily chart or the weekly chart, even. But as I go to daily, this stock is a known pop and drop type of play. I mean, like you could just tell all of the red bars on the daily chart just goes to show the stock closed lower than it had opened up that morning, right? So all of those, pops and drops happen within the course of the pre-market into the market open, and then by the time it was the afternoon here and heading into the close, it was already down. So, that's first, and then even furthermore, if I can go back here. There we go. You could tell, I mean, just dating back to, prior to 2020, this stock has been all over the place. So, is it possible it can make a day over day run this week? Perhaps, but, this was not intended to be a swing trade from the start of things today, this morning. And that's going to be, our mindset here heading into the afternoon. So I'll tell you what, right now it's coming back down. If this ends up testing 1015 again, my anticipation is to see it slam below 1015. If it pops right back up above it, maybe there's one more life left on this run, but otherwise, I don't really know just yet. We'll put it on our main list to begin. Again, it's not the CTU trade list, mind you, it's the CTU watch list. So we're not forced to trade this stock. If it ends up dumping back down, I'm just very cautious for that there. But I'll tell you what, we'll see what else we got here heading into the afternoon. I kind of just shimmied around my scanners here, so we'll kind of go brief and quick just because we have class lined up at 3 p.m. Eastern. So we had three stocks on the morning watch list actually heading into the market open. Fausto kept it very simple as well from the morning. The EDSA was obviously number one. The Zevo stock was up next, and this was, just as active in pre-market as the EDSA at least. Unfortunately, this did not make for nearly as good of a trade. Just from the morning and entirely. So yes, it did pop up once the market opened up. It made that famed slingshot type of move from 6 and under all the way up towards near 8. Topped off at 790. But man, after that pop up, obviously you could see the big shake back down right where my cursor is. But this stock was just like a jigsaw, just cutting up and down, up and down. And over time, it built this sideways move. You're more hopeful to see it begin to pop back up and make a higher high as it's making this trend off the lows. But if it's not going to break higher, folks, there's only one other way the stock's going to go, right? Simple as that. So you don't want to hold on to a stock like this just because news came out, just because it popped after the market opened up, ended up dumping off from 750, the highs there, all the way down to sub 5. Yeah, for right now, this stock, I'm going to write off for this afternoon, maybe check back in with it come tomorrow or later on this week. I'd be hopeful to see this make a smaller secondary type of move back up, but you don't know when that's going to be. Doesn't look like that's going to be today, at least. All right, STNG, not much going on here. That leads me to CRVS, and there was a lot to talk about on this trade. CRVS. This was a stock from Friday that we ended up doing extremely well on into the close. Ended up running up much higher than I thought it was going to go up to. My thoughts were that it was gonna go up to 6 here in the after hours back on Friday afternoon. Obviously, I got that, but once it popped over 6, I got out. I was trading this in the after hours that night. I was on a smaller position in the post market, but I thought it was going to dump right back down after it broke above 6. Oh, boy, was I wrong. Ended up beginning to run right up to 7 after. So, hey, to see a stock make this big of a move back from the last trading day, how could you not be interested in following this stock? Not to say right at the market open, but I just mean in general, across the whole day. Hey, instead of this popping back up and running up, if it ended up dumping back down and breaking below 5 support or 490, this looks to be, then I'd probably move on from it, as that's more likely to lead to a continued move down. But yeah, otherwise, this stock, you just want to check back in with it every now and then. Once this stock ended up beginning to push back up 5, it made this slow trend back up, and once it broke 550, that's where the real run started to happen. So, ended up breaking above the highs that we had from the day before, and obviously moved back up here up towards 650 and close to 7. Listen, I mean, still very strong and in relation to the move that we had back from Friday. So, you know what? I'll put this on the main list here. And actually, I'm more interested in this than I would be on the EDSA, at least so far. All right, so we'll see what else we got here. Otherwise, I had a question on warrants. I'll get to that tomorrow in the Traders Talk workshop. Long story short, I don't really trade warrants, so I can't give that good of an answer on the question that was asked. But I'm just going to skip over the ZIVOW. At least you could see here number 5 on the gainer side. Normally, I don't even look at warrants. FNGD, slow trend up. I don't know if this is an ETF. Oh, it is. Yeah. Okay, never mind. I got this mixed up with FNGO, if I'm not mistaken. I think. Oh, both are ETFs actually. Oh, all right, so with the market down today, and as I kind of rework my 5-minute chart and realizing the SPY is not showing there for some reason, but the markets were obviously dropping all throughout the day today. We're kind of consolidating early on once the market opened, but ended up beginning to break down more heading into the late morning, the early parts of the afternoon. The SPY here, you can see it's still dropping off at the lows. So what that leads you to say is that you have the inverse ETFs at the highs of the day: SQQQ, SOXS, and inverse semiconductor ETF, LABD, DRIP. All of these are ETFs. So I'm really just going to skip over them. You know who you are if you consistently trade ETFs, day trade ETFs, and if you consistently profit on them. Again, you know who you are. You'd be more keen to follow them. Out of all of the wackiness today and the drop off within the market that we had, and of course today being Monday, we'll get to Bitcoin. I wanted to make sure I reserve some time for crypto here, just because from where we had left off on Friday, we'll go over what had happened at least there. But for as much as the market dropped off, not everything made for a big drop. Obviously, the EDSA made for a nice move up, and this ATER trade also made a nice pop once the market opened up. Ended up re-breaking above resistance off of 11. Ended up making the slingshot from there for just about 2.5 points. So this is just a stock from our side list that we ended up following pretty early on once the market opened. I think that you could say the same on the BBIG, but the ATER had more life to it throughout the course of the morning and going into the afternoon. This made the same slingshot, but this ended up dying off really fast. All right, so I guess obviously would find more on the loser side here anyway, with the market down as much as it is. I am short on one trade, folks. I feel pretty comfortable going through this meeting and then getting to it. It was dropping off pretty nicely with the market. All right, so BYSI, not that stock, but at the lows today, if it was shortable, I'd be a lot more interested in it. I could say the same on PTGX. The stock that took a massive hit back on Friday last week was down like 56, 60% in the morning at least. Again, if this stock was shortable, this would be a beautiful, trade to try and follow. I think this may even be breaking all time. Nope, not all time. But obviously took a huge hit. This stock could be due for a dead cat bounce at some point. Maybe it could be today. I don't think it's going to be, in my opinion. Perhaps tomorrow morning, perhaps some point tomorrow or Wednesday, perhaps. We'll check back in. PTGX is definitely a side list stock, just given how much it had dropped off dating back from Friday. All right, so we keep it going. BTCM, Bitcoin stock down here. BTBT, Bitcoin stock down here. If it was shortable, perhaps. TCAT and NFT stock, same thing. Tiger, unfortunately, is hard to borrow today. It has been shortable for a long amount of time, at least on my TradeStation platform. Now, this was one of the stocks I was interested in shorting with the drop off that we had today. I'm not short on this stock, as you can see. The stock that I am short right now, that you could see, is NEO. So NIO, I am short right now, a little more pricey, but down over 7%. I would have gotten to this, I would imagine, at some point shortly as we go down this losers list. I'm short from 35. I was watching this throughout the early parts of the afternoon with the drop off in the market. And if you folks recall, I got to bring this up because we ended up putting NEO I believe it was Neo, on our watch list going into, I think it was the morning back from last week. I think coming off the weekend last week when we ended up reconvening back on Monday, I think it was when I was doing the meeting, I ended up putting Neo on the watch list, I remember, and it was in relation to the Evergrande China real estate developer deal where they're defaulting on the bonds. And that's why, the China markets back from Thursday last week, like yin was down over 7%. And I was looking for it. I was looking for a drop off on Neo, and it was so shaky and it was weak. It wasn't making any sort of big drop off. It was just, like this. That's the move that we were trading. It was back from Friday, actually. It was. I'm sorry, but it's to say, obviously, today ended up beginning to drop off more so into the late morning, early afternoon, and I'm short from 35 now. So, I'm probably going to get out of this trade before class starts coming up at 3 p.m. But given the drop off in the market and this stock moving down pretty nicely, a China stock entirely too, I'd be more keen to follow the Neo, the LI stock here down also 8+%. They tend to move somewhat well together. XPEV, maybe this one also, for the same price as Neo, a little bit shakier. All right, so I'll tell you what, I'll toss it to all of us today on social media and all of us live inside the cyber group, Norman, John, and Gene, and everyone else otherwise. Let me know if there's anything else that I missed entirely or something that might not be down as much as the ones we talked about. I still see as we go down the losers list of, a bunch of familiar names. Space at the low of the day, Riot with, Bitcoin down and, just the market's entirely down. Riot's at the low and shortable. Perhaps that could be an interesting opportunity. Oxy pretty choppy here around 25. SPWR, familiar name here. Jumia, my speech impediment tripping that up at least, but yeah, that could be a good side list stock perhaps. All right. I'll tell you what, there was nothing that impressed me as I just took one last glance on the loser side. But let me just check in with YouTube really quick from Mitch. Mitch, hopefully you'll be joining us tomorrow morning, at least at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Again, we are going to remind everyone one last time our Traders Talk workshop, which will be simulcasted inside our live trading room. And alongside them, you have the chance to join on YouTube tomorrow morning. So just read the banner on the stream below, and you'll be able to get more information on it. Now, for LPTX up 8.5% here, breaking above the highs that we had even from Friday and Thursday last week. So yeah, really nice push. The concern on this trade is that it failed to even kiss 3. So that goes to show that there's no one interested in buying this stock at 3 yet. So that's why you're getting a 20-cent shake back down quite fast here. So listen, great call. I'm going to put this on our list. We're kind of at a shortage of stocks to follow so far. And that goes both ways. I mean, the market drop off here, I only put Neo on the watch list so far as a potential short should the markets continue to drop off. So, folks, let me know if there's anything else that you would want me to check out. ETTX moving up from Norman. Yeah, you could say the same with this as you had said before on the LPTX. I don't know if they're related. This one's up a lot more percentage-wise. I don't know if this just started to pop at 130, probably trading a lot less volume here compared to the 1.1 million shares now that it's trading. Yeah, why not? It's hard for us to not put this stock on the watch list here at this point. And check back in with the CRVS stock. This stock will still keep on our list, albeit it's still dropping off down to 6, broke under and over 6. The EDSA trade, be careful. I might even take this off the watch list right now because unfortunately this just did exactly what I forewarned us that it could do. Break back below 1015. It got crushed once it hit below 1015. Really, once it broke below 1050. I made like a massive, like near dollar shake from that point. But yeah, at this point right now, folks, you know what? I hate to say it. I like to see the opportunity more in these stocks that we scan through, but I'm actually going to take the EDSA off the list now. I feel way more inclined to believe it's just going to dump off at this point now. All right, folks, I think that just about does it. I got a question here from Deb, and okay, you know what? I was going to kind of just say, I could answer it tomorrow morning in the Traders Talk workshop, but this will bring me to Bitcoin, so it's a good segue. So Deb asking here live inside Cyber Group. It used to be when the market went down like it is today, that gold, silver, and mining stocks went up. This has not been happening lately. Do you think people are investing in cryptos instead of the traditional gold, silver as safe havens? Um, yes and no. Now, my belief is certainly yes, because I think that Bitcoin has been becoming way more mainstream across the last year and a half than it ever has been. So there's definitely more people, more institutions compared to this time last year that were buying Bitcoin. Now that will bring me to the chart really quickly, but to also follow up and answer for Deb that had asked that really good question, I believe that a lot more money is going into bonds than anything. I think bonds are more of a safe haven play compared to gold and silver, and certainly compared to Bitcoin. Like I'm so Kool-Aid on Bitcoin, and I think that Bitcoin is going to still be around 100,000+ by January, February this year. But that doesn't mean that everyone else thinks that, right? Not only that, but as you could see just from this chart, just from Friday heading into the weekend into this morning, I don't know if anyone considers something as volatile as Bitcoin to be quote unquote a safe haven. So it's yes and no. So at least from my perspective, I think that it's in a good position to where you could look to buy. Now, I'm not going to say that without actually doing it, folks. So as we get to Bitcoin, I'm just going to show you folks right away from this morning. My insomnia, I woke up at like 3 in the morning and I saw Bitcoin at a good opportunity. At least I thought I did. So I ended up buying Cardano. I bought a little Ethereum, bought a little Bitcoin. And this morning, like at 8 o'clock, I ended up buying more Cardano. All right. So I told you folks I was not really in the accumulation phase, and I'm not. But you know what? If I see a good opportunity, I'll take it. Altogether, I think that's about $1,800 worth. This was my last entry that I told you folks about on Bitcoin. That was back on September 8th. So let's get to the Bitcoin chart here really quick. And it's to say this. We had left off on Bitcoin. What's today's date? The 20th? 17th. So we left off on Bitcoin back on the 17th at basically this time on Friday. So right over here. And I told you folks we were going to get a drop, and I was forewarning us that this dashed line was my belief to where we would find the small bottom and then a sharp bounce back up. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. I think with the China news that came out with Evergrande, the real estate developer that defaulted on the bonds, that led to a big drop off across all the indices, which effectively carried Bitcoin. So, listen, I'm not sweating this at all. If anything, I think that this is in a pretty good position. Should this continue to drop off, I'll continue to buy. Now, if it does continue to drop off, then I would think that 41,000 would be the next support level. I know I have a bunch of lines here, so pardon that. But if you see the bottom dashed line here, you can see that was a pretty strong top heading into January, February of this year. It ended up holding as a top here pretty nicely. So perhaps that could be the next level of support, just simply based off charting, based off of just a strong resistance creating a strong support. This here is just a trend line I put up recently off the highs here. I put that up this morning, so that's kind of new to you folks joining us today on social media. Jumping over to the Cardano side of things. These lines are also pretty new. I put that up here today. So these are some longer term trend lines that were holding as resistance, led to a breakout going into early February here. Notice how nicely this held as support, right? Pretty interesting. And I think this line, honestly, is pretty irrelevant, at least for right now. I just drew that up there just to have fun. Now, the part that I want to get to, though, is this here. This line here, $2.20, I put up on Friday. So if I thought if Bitcoin were to drop off to the line that I thought it would bounce from, then I thought this would be the corresponding price to which we would see Cardano bounce from. So that entry that I have on Cardano from last night was at 220. Then this morning I bought right around like 207. Now it's to say though, I still think that we're in a good position on Cardano. The reason I say that is looking at the Cardano to Bitcoin chart. This is what I also did on Friday from our last meeting. Cardano is right at support. Can it break? Yeah, certainly anything could happen. But we have the big Cardano summit coming up in a few days. I think if I'm not mistaken, on Friday this week on the 25th. But it's to say though that that's going to be a huge conference for Cardano ADA. They're believed to be announcing some major partnerships. I don't know with who, so I'm pretty excited for it. But we'll find out. So I'm excited for that. And that just about does it on the crypto side of things, folks. If there's anything else just over the last few minutes, as I was flapping my gums, as I like to say on crypto, just type it in the chat board just to let me know here really briefly. I'll look at Cello tomorrow, John. Tomorrow I will. I'm sorry. I'm just catching that late right now. And right now I kind of just want to conclude the meeting. So I'm just going to wrap up by asking for any last stocks. But tomorrow, and if you want to email me too, just as a reminder, I'll talk a little bit about Cello in our Traders Talk workshop. All right. Send over the email and I'll be able to do that for you. All right. I think that just about wraps it up. I don't see anything else, at least stock related here. The ETTX trade keeps popping right now. That's all I see. Oh, no, maybe not. Popped up before. That may have been a late signal from Benzinga Pro. And that's what it looks to be there. All right, this thing's dumping back down actually right now. That's not as good of a sign to see now at this stage, but we'll keep this stock on our watch list. We got a short list here heading into the afternoon, folks. We got the CRVS trade, NEO, LPTX, and this here too, the ETTX. We'll see if any of these, or perhaps, I mean, I know it's off the list now. I took it off the list, but if the EDSA can make some miraculous pop back over 1015, then that can make for a potential setup. So we'll start with what we have on the list, then we'll kind of work our way down. All right. So for all of us on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, I appreciate you stick with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. I hope to see you tomorrow morning. So again, tomorrow, Fausto will do the morning meeting at 9 a.m. Eastern, as always. But tomorrow, September 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern time, we'll have our Traders Talk workshop. If you'd like to ask any particular questions about stocks or crypto, you could just send it right over to my email address, josh@c2trading.com. All right, folks. But aside from that, I look forward to speaking to most of us coming up in class later on in just about 10, 15 minutes. Talk to you soon.